News at 11 begins now.
We begin with breaking news at this hour. A crash involving multiple motorcycles in the Spokane Valley. Appleway Boulevard is shut down right now between Farr and University. It's going to be closed at least for several more hours. Welcome and thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Whitney Ward. Police still actively investigating exactly what happened, but right now we know at least 2 people are hurt. Casey Decker is at the scene there along Appleway. He's here with the latest for us. Casey?
Yeah, Whitney, you might be able to see behind me now. Police are still investigating the scene, and it's a pretty large scene as well. The debris field here is quite extensive. Take a look at this video that we shot earlier of the scene, of the wreckage here. So here's what we know happened so far. There were 4 motorcycles traveling together. Witnesses say 2 of those motorcycles started revving their engines at each other at a stoplight near this intersection here, Appleway and Farr. And then those 2 motorcycles took off at a high rate of speed and then hit a curb. Both of those motorcycles flew into the air. The riders fell off their motorcycles, and as you saw earlier, the debris field here, very large, the scene very extensive. Both of those riders had serious injuries and were taken to the hospital in critical condition. So far, that's the latest update on them, but so far we don't know yet whether those motorcycles riders were actually racing. We've only been told that they were going at a high rate of speed and hit a curb and fell off. So right now, police still investigating. Back here live at the scene, they're going to be out here for a couple more hours now, so expect Appleway between about Farr and University to be closed pretty well into tonight. Reporting live from Spokane Valley, Casey Decker, KREM 2 News.
All right, Casey, thank you. And before he was actually out covering that crash, Casey was on Spokane's Lower South Hill, where a SWAT standoff closed streets this afternoon. Police eventually arrested 4 different people in connection with a variety of crimes there. So here he is now with more on what happened at that location.
Those arrests were the result of an investigation into an early morning shooting in this neighborhood. Now, SWAT eventually pulled more than a half dozen people out of this home, a home that was already known to police.
You know, we got to check our yards before we let our kids go out and play, because there are syringes. And there's been so many thefts. I've lost 3 tackle boxes out of my truck.
The house on the corner of Ray and 5th has been a problem for this South Hill neighborhood for a long time now. Neighbors say it's a known drug house tied to a variety of crimes.
It's horrible. I mean, you work your butt off to try to provide for your family and have a good life, and then here comes somebody that doesn't want to do any work whatsoever, taking your stuff.
Early Wednesday morning, a more violent crime, a gunshot, reported just after 6 a.m. An hour later, Sacred Heart notified police they were treating a possible gunshot victim. That eventually launched a gang unit investigation. Officers got probable cause for a search warrant on the house, then called in SWAT.
It took SWAT approximately an hour, hour and a half to get everybody out of the house. Originally, some of the people did not want to comply. Eventually, one of the persons locked himself in a room in the house, couldn't get back out, so he had to crawl out a window, climb up on the roof, and then we had to get him down onto the ground safely and surrender to us.
Altogether, 7 or 8 people were removed from the house and 4 people were arrested. Exact charges are still in the works. Neighbors just hope it'll be enough to clean up the area.
Having the police activity, it'll calm it down. We won't have to worry about our front yard being used as a shooting gallery anymore, because that's extremely frustrating when you're trying to bring up children and they can look out the window and see this kind of behavior.
Now, many of the roads in the area were closed for a few hours, causing some pretty big disruptions in the middle of the afternoon, but those roads opened up again around 6 p.m. and traffic has been smooth since. Reporting from the Lower South Hill, Casey Decker, KREM 2 News.
All right, thank you, Casey, and we'll keep you updated on both of those cases. Meanwhile, the University of Idaho professor who was recently fired for verbally assaulting a staff member as well as using meth is now facing burglary and drug charges. According to court records, Denise Bennett was charged in Nez Perce County last Saturday. She's accused of speaking out or breaking out a window of a friend's trailer and also stealing a cell phone. She was later found in a hotel room where officers say she was arrested for meth possession. Bennett appeared in court on Monday and did post a $5,000 bond. Court documents show she has pleaded not guilty to a misdemeanor paraphernalia charge. We did reach out to Bennett today for comment, but so far she has not responded. All right, let's switch gears to weather now. Fall definitely kicking in and in full force. Looks like we're going to be a lot colder by this weekend. In fact, some places could even see snow. So Thomas Patrick is here now to explain Exactly what we're dealing with here, Thomas.
Yeah, and snow is a big word, especially around these parts, but even more so when it's still September outside. So why is this happening in the first place? Well, we have to look to the jet stream for that answer, and it's clear to see that this polar air, well, a little piece of it displaces itself, moves right over Washington. That's why the temperatures are just going to free fall over this weekend, put them in the 30s, and 30s is cold enough for some snow to start falling, especially with a disturbance overhead at the same time. It's only snowed in September in Spokane one other time on record. That was in 1926. So should we get even a few snowflakes, it would be only the second time ever for the Spokane area. Now we have two chances, both Saturday morning and first thing Sunday morning. So we're watching both days for a few snowflake chances. Probably won't stick in Spokane, but some areas may, especially in the higher elevations. But let's get you going for tomorrow morning. A few morning showers and a windy start to the day. That'll clear up by the afternoon hours. And we're actually tracking a few chances for rain before it even snows by the weekend. So we'll break it down day by day for you coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, Thomas, thank you very much. So we know we're headed into the colder weather, and that has many of you, including Spokane City Council, asking where will people who are homeless go to get out of the freezing cold this winter? KREM 2's Amanda Rowley shares the potential locations that may be changing in the city.
Last winter, the city of Spokane made lease agreements with 4 warming centers. The centers provided a total of about 200 beds. But right now, City Council President Ben Stuckert says 3 of those 4 centers will not be available this year.
One, there's current ongoing discussions, but there's not enough staff time. There's just not enough staff and support that they have in order to get that done right now.
It is still possible the Cannon Center will open this winter, but that leaves the Ermina Center, Salem Lutheran Church, and Westminster United Church unavailable to serve as a warming center this year, at least for now. Some believe there might be plans for a shelter in the Hilliard area. One Nextdoor app user says it could be at the Old Masonic Temple on Market Street. I asked city spokesperson Marlene Feiss about this. She says the city does not have that information right now, but soon. Following the city council and mayor's press conference this morning, the city released a proposed plan for homelessness. It includes a series of steps. It first wants the city council to agree to contract with the Salvation Army to operate a new shelter and complete negotiations. The city says this would allow the Salvation Army to participate in the selection of a location for a continuous stay shelter. The next step would be to finalize a shelter location for this fall and beyond. According to the release, the goal is for a shelter to accommodate 60 people this fall. Staff expect to present the location as early as next week. Then the city anticipates opening 2 warming center locations to accommodate 150 people. The final step to the city's plan is to continue collaborating with other service providers. This means city staff could present council a request for funding to close gaps in service hours for Women's Hearth and Hope House to continue offering extended service hours. Amanda Rowley, KREM 2 News.
We also want to let you know KREM 2 is hosting a debate between Ben Stuckert and Nadine Woodward, both running for Spokane mayor. And this is going to be your time to speak out and connect with those candidates. We want to hear from you. So if you have a question for them, please take a selfie video of your question and send it to us. You can share it on social media using the hashtag KREMDebate, or you can email it to the email address listed right there on your screen. The debate is going to be next Friday, October 4th. At 7 p.m. In national news tonight, President Trump is speaking up about the whistleblower complaint against him over a phone call with the leader of Ukraine. Today, a summary of that phone call was released to the media. Jason Puckett is here now to break down what we know so far.
It reads like a political novel, but it's a real-life drama unfolding in Washington, D.C. One phone call, a whistleblower, and now an official presidential impeachment inquiry. There are a lot of layers to this. Let's start in August. A government whistleblower filed a complaint about a phone call between President Trump and the president of Ukraine. The whistleblower claimed that President Trump threatened to withhold military funding for Ukraine if their government did not investigate former Vice President Joe Biden. Why would President Trump ask for this? Well, the president accused Biden of using his position as vice president to shut down a Ukrainian prosecutor's investigation into a company. Biden's son was a member of that company's board. President Trump has spoken before about the claim that Biden threatened Ukraine.
Look at Joe Biden. He calls them and says, don't you dare prosecute if you don't fire this prosecutor. The prosecutor was after his son. And he said, if you fire the prosecutor, you'll be okay. Yeah. And if you don't fire the prosecutor, we're not giving you $2 billion in loan guarantees or whatever he was supposed to give. Can you imagine if I did that?
Here's the thing. On Biden's side, that situation happened 3 years ago, and investigations into his actions found no evidence that he did anything wrong. And President Trump's administration hasn't shown any evidence to prove otherwise. So how did this lead to the impeachment inquiry? Lawmakers want to know for sure whether the president asked a foreign government to dig up dirt on his American political opponent. And they want to know whether he threatened to withhold military funding to make it happen. The White House has not released a full transcript of the president's phone call. They did release a memo summarizing the call, but even the memo itself says it's not a verbatim transcript of what was said. The memo does mention President Trump asking for a favor to have Ukraine investigate Vice President Biden. But the memo, which again isn't a transcript, does not reflect President Trump threatening to withhold any money or funds. So where's the whistleblower in all of this? An attorney says the whistleblower is prepared to meet with Congress. Have any other questions for us to look into? Send us an email. With your Verify, I'm Jason Puckett.
Also, a 12th Democrat has qualified for next month's presidential debate. That means the next debate may be a two-night event. So to earn a spot, candidates need at least 2% in 4 or more recognized polls. They also need donations from 130,000 unique donors and at least 400 donors in at least 20 states. That means as of now, you'll see all of the 10 candidates who appeared in the last debate, plus 2 more, billionaire Tom Steyer and Hawaii Representative Tulsi Gabbard. Candidates have until October 1st to qualify. The debate itself takes place on October 15th. All right, several rescued bison now getting a new home, and it's all thanks to some very generous viewers. We'll explain what's happening next for these animals when we come back.